Hey, can you guys all sit down? Find a seat here. Mike, Jim. I hate to break it up because that's what I wanted to have happen after the business meeting. Hey, is anybody not signed a name tag? Come on over here and get your name tag. We know who you are. Or...
There's a sign. Open seat. So.
The steward. Here we go. A couple more. Sir. All right. Hey, everybody. How are you?
Good.
Good. What's up with Tony? How are you doing? Good. Good. How many we got online here? Just one?
Two.
No, just
Matt asked me somebody else.
Okay, there's two. They're still signing in over there. Well, I want to welcome everybody back to our September meeting after a nice long vacation. Anybody do anything fun? Go anywhere fun? Any trips? Anything? Nobody? Wonder why. Did you? I love the Smokies. We get out there quite a bit. It's an easy trip too.
My first time.
Yeah, my wife's done the whole length of it. I haven't done the whole length, but she's done the whole length of it. How about somebody else? Anybody else go anywhere? No? Yeah, where'd you go?
My wife and I went to White Pine Camp in New Hampshire, in the Adirondacks, actually. And it's, because where Truman used to go, it's called the Summer Lighthouse. In a real rustic place, and it was really nice. Just 3 nights we spent there. It was really good.
Cool. Sounds like fun.
Rustic.
Rustic? All right, well, I get right to the meeting, I suppose. Let's see, what do we got here? We all know that, I guess there's a policy on their website, the Rivet says they want you to wear masks, but they said whatever you want to do.
So whatever.
Whatever.
I think everybody's pretty much okay with whatever, but name tags, everybody's got your name tag. You got one more to go. There you go. Sorry. No, I'm watching. No, I gotta watch you now for sure. Okay, we got anybody? New people. There's Steve. You're tired, isn't it?
A little. We had one meeting.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from,
Okay.
how much turning you've done, woodworking you've done?
Not a lot. I'm Richard Coble. I live in Bedford, so I was just, and I took the one pen making class and made a pen and love doing it. I've been making jewelry for 50 years, so I do have some skill and talent. And my wife and children bought me a lathe for my 70th birthday, and Mike was so gracious to help me out, and I visited his studio, or I guess I'm used to calling them studios, but anyway, and we worked together, and he showed me how to make a box, and I've made a couple since then, and I made some wine toppers, or bottle toppers, and some shaving brushes. So I've made about 10 or 15 things, but
Nice.
I love it. So,
Right. I know, it's relaxing, isn't it?
yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it is. It's really
So
cool.
that's,
Well, welcome.
thank you.
It's relaxing. Come on.
May I wasn't here last time, so perhaps Dave could give us a little background.
Oh, me?
Yeah, Dave's up next.
I just basically started last year after I retired. I was in the tree business, landscaping, pond business. So I decided I have a lot of wood up in my house from when I was in the tree business. It's been there for like 34 years. And I'm using some of that, and I'm putting some things on my property and trying some green turning, but not being very successful with it yet. So I turn when I can, and I found out when you're retired, it's maybe even some other people that you don't know why you don't have more time to do these things that you want to do.
What kind of lathe do you have?
Actually, I had a Delta 1270. It's an older model, and I just right now in the trunk, in the back of my truck, I just came back from Woodcraft. I have a Nova 1644 in there that it's bought.
Nice. Nice.
So if we want to have a little session tonight, we can maybe put that.
He wanted to do an unboxing.
What kinds of problems are you having with green wood turn?
I probably don't drive enough is what it is. I just kind of, I was talking to a couple of people, it seems to split on me. I guess I get it too thin to start with, what I'm learning from Steve and somebody else here tonight. So they said, I'm going too thin, basically, is what it is. Working on it originally, you get carried away, you want to get it down, get it finished, but you gotta, somebody told me 1/10 the diameter of the bowl or something like that. Another one said at least an inch all the way around. So.
Well, there are different, that's one way, but some people like to take it down really very, very thin. And then in the sanding process and, just the spinning process, it pretty much dries. So,
And now,
It'll still move.
yeah, it'll still move some, but it won't be as
the regular
dramatic.
sandpaper, or what kind, is there any particular sandpaper you should use? Nothing, doesn't matter.
Abernathy?
Well, if it's green, you can use Abernet because it's basically a net type that will take the swath off. But once it's dried, any sandpaper at all.
All right.
Yeah, and the other thing I found, because I too like to do a project in one night. And so finish it, put a finish on it right away if you're turning it that thin. And that'll help slow the process of drying.
Any other new people, or anybody just wants to talk?
Oh, I had another thing.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I acquired, last month, those windstorms and stuff, I acquired a catalpa tree that blew down, so if anyone wants any catalpa wood, I didn't have time to bring it in tonight, but I live up on Black Hawk Road. If you want to come up and get some, I have plenty. And it goes, I have limb wood and I have stuff like this and bigger. I don't know if you ever worked with catalpa, but it's the same color all the way through, and it's called the string bean tree for people who don't know trees. All right.
Bean trees, yeah, big long.
Yeah, thick leaves, heart-shaped leaves.
Yep.
But I have plenty of that, more than I'll ever need. And then this fall, after I get the animals out of the pasture, I have a dead hickory tree in there. It's been dead for a year. I want to knock down, and there's going to be more wood there than I know what to do with. So if I get some volunteers to help clean up and haul it away, you can get some hickory wood.
Were you related to Ziegler Packing?
No, Charlie wasn't related to me.
He used to live across the street from me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you said other announcements. I have a friend who's 78 and not doing too well, and he's ready to get out of woodworking, and he's ready to give away a 11-inch Delta lathe and a big freewheel bandsaw that can resaw 6-inch board. And so if anybody wants either of those pieces, he'd be happy to have it taken out of his garage out of in Lemont. So let me know. I have pictures that I can show you afterwards.
Can you guys be sure to get your contact information to Ken so that he can send it out?
Yeah.
Because I would be interested in some of that stuff, but of course, I don't know where to live or anything.
Thank you, sir. Well, this fellow lives in Lamont. I'll help connect you if anybody's interested in seeing.
Okay, very good. Randy might be interested in that lathe too.
He won't be back till the end of the month.
We have somebody who lives in Vermont.
He left 3 months ago.
Huh?
He left 3 months ago. He's touring Canada and Alaska.
That's right, that's right. I remember
Yeah.
saying that.
But he left the beginning of July and won't be back till the end of September.
We have somebody who may be interested in that lathe though. Okay. So now the big one is we're looking for a secretary. And I thought somebody had said that they were willing to volunteer for it. Was that you?
That was me, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Won't be every meeting, but I'll do what I can.
Richard Garland.
Richard Garland, there you go.
Okay.
What I'll do is I'd like to do meeting notes that are or agenda that's fairly well detailed. And all you have to do basically is fill in the blanks, you know.
Excellent.
Do you do Word? Do you have Word?
Yep.
I can send you the Word file, you can just finish it up, it'll be quick and easy. Okay? Thank you,
Okay.
Richard. Oh, wait, we have to, so you know, you have to attend general meetings, executive meetings, and other special meetings. Take notes, create meeting minutes, send them to the executive team, archive the minutes, and it should only take about an hour a month. Hear that? An hour a month.
Hold him to it.
Okay, so do I have a nomination for Richard to be secretary?
Yeah.
Okay, then there's a second. So we want to do a formal vote. All in favor? Opposed? Just Richard's opposed. Very good. Thank you for doing that. So
Yeah, way to go.
appreciate that, bud. Okay, and I sent out the June meeting, and that was really just a shop tour, so there really wasn't that much. So I have a motion to approve the June meeting notes. Mike Lebo, any seconds? Is there any discussion on it? Favor, approved? Good, all right, cool. Treasure report, I didn't get anything from Larry. Larry's on vacation or something. So, no, he's not up there either. So, okay, so we'll move on from that. Old business, we finalized the agreement with the Rivet. And basically, they're gonna let us have, store our lays here. We have the Wednesday of every month reserved. They gave me a key to the Rivet, which I don't like, but they gave me one anyway. And then on each class, they're gonna say thank you for all the wood turning classes. Thank you for the Nittany Valley Wood Turners for conducting a class. In return, we have to host 2 training sessions a month. And we've been doing that pretty well, except for they've been bad about scheduling them. So, and they want to split the registration fee, 55 to the Rivet to 45 to Nittany Valley Wood Turners. It was 50-50, but we the executive team met and we talked about it and we agreed to that. So, what else? They want us to have a clearance class for the Rivet lays. They have a couple of lays out there that they aren't using because nobody has clearance. So we're gonna have to develop a clearance class. And they wanted a sturdy locker for us to put our tools into. And Paul had one from the club that he had been storing. And he did an excellent job of cleaning it out and painting it. It's out there now and we have all our stuff in there. So that's all been satisfied. So thank you for doing that, Paul. All right, so classes. You want to talk a little bit about the
Yeah.
classes? since we're there?
So the agreement is that we will offer classes, not necessarily present them. And one of the restrictions we had is that we need to have at least 3 students in a class to make it worthwhile, because we usually have 3 to 4 instructors, and it just really isn't worthwhile yanking all the lays out and whatnot unless we get a full classroom. So in the month of August, Rivet goes through what they call a summer camp thing where they brought kids in for a whole week of days, and at any rate, they sort of screwed up their schedule for us. We offered to give them pen classes, and actually, the latest class that we're offering is a ice cream scoop class, just a handle.
Acrylic pen. Too.
Yeah, and acrylic pens. And at any rate, August kind of fell by the wayside because they didn't get us into their calendar. We are now on tap for 2 classes this month. Both of them will be wooden handles for a ice cream scoop. And I just talked to the gal that's doing the enrollment. There are 4 students enrolled already for class next Wednesday. So that class is going to run. And then they have 2 students enrolled for the week after that. So all they need is 1 more, and we'll have that one. And that sounds likely. And in fact, we're getting a lot of ex-pen turners coming to those classes. So those will be students that we've had before.
Which is great. Good way to get people in. Thank you.
And I think next month we're going to offer, at least to start out with, another pen class, so a wooden pen class. So
We tried for the July, we tried red, white, and blue, Spirit of America kind of thing.
Stars and Stripes.
Stars and Stripes. We had Stars and Stripes pen blanks, and nobody wanted them. They wanted to go to the fancy acrylic colors. So we tried. But you never know what's going to get.
Should we be doing some of our own advertising, like there's that weekly or monthly thing that's free for people to pick up, and we ran some ads in that once before.
Town and Gown, you're talking about?
No,
Oh, the Gazette.
the Gazette, yeah.
Good. Hey, we're looking for a committee chairman for that communication bit.
I
Are you interested?
I'd take that on, yeah,
Okay.
just for that.
I know Larry has a thing in for WPSU community calendar, and that still runs every month. So they announce that every month that we're having a class, but no one's ever come in and said they've done that.
There's an app called Nextdoor too that is kind of a community based.
Yes,
That's a good idea too.
yes.
And that is something that could be,
You need a
Pretty widespread.
paper and a pen, or
Yeah, if you would just give me the schedule, I'll take care of both of them.
okay, cool. Thank you, Reg. Okay, so new business. We have a really neat opportunity. I got a phone call from Kylie Orndorff, and she was the environmental interpretive technician for DCNR out at Reed's Gap. And she invited our club to come out and do demonstrations, which I think is a really cool idea. If you've never done any demonstrations or been involved with a community like that, it's really a lot of fun, very rewarding. It's at Reed's Gap State Park, and it's October 8th from 11 to 3. And she really wants us to set up a lathe and show some turning. But if you do that, you can't turn and talk to somebody. So I don't mind going out there and doing one or the other, but I'd like to have somebody else come out and give me a hand, maybe 2 people if we can get some volunteers. So you don't have to tell me right away, but think about it. And that's October 8th from 11 to 3. That's a Saturday. That's a Saturday. So I appreciate that. I put the website for that event on the meeting notes that I sent out. So anybody interested? Just, yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay. I know my wife is going to go too, but she doesn't do any wood turning. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
No, she
No,
doesn't
she
do
won't.
turning yet.
She's no sharp knives and spinning objects are not her idea. We tried that. All right. Mid-Atlantic Wood Turning Symposium is September 23rd, 25th. That's right down there in Lancaster. This is one of the closer ones. If you've never been to an event like that, there are a lot of neat demonstrations that go on. There are some really well-known turners that are there. Think about it. I think it's $215 right now to sign up for the 3 days. And the hotel is Marriott, and it's $164 a night. I know that's kind of steep, but there are places around that you can get. that you can get to. So if you're interested, it's a really good event, and you can either contact me or get on their website.
What's that event like? Is it a conference indoors? Is it an outdoor?
No, it's
Fair.
indoors. It's in the Marriott Conference Center.
They have,
Is it downtown?
Yeah.
It's on Route 30.
Yeah.
Right across what used to be Dutch Wonderland.
Well,
I'm
I think
looking,
about 2.5 hours to drive.
Yeah.
At the most.
yeah, it's easy to drive.
I'm working with a kid who's into hand tools and making things the old fashioned way with just hand tools. And I'm wondering if they would have, or if you guys know where I could have him see, and maybe even we could make a kick lathe. You know, you provide the spin, pull down, and the weights turn back and spins.
There's spring pole lathes,
Yeah.
or there's also treadle lathes.
Yeah, either of those. Is there a place we could see those in action, or
I know of
plans to
one.
make 'em?
I know of one treadle lathe that's out at Ag Progress.
Oh, at the Pastel Museum?
That's,
Yeah.
museum. There's one out there. We actually demonstrated on it one year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Although it was tiring because
Very tiring.
Well, we just did a project for the Pastel Museum where we made some flax processing tools. But I'm surprised they let you use that, because a group of students came to them about using tools they had at the museum. They said,
No way.
yeah, we have them, but we're a museum. We don't let people use them.
nope.
So, but they did.
We loaded a 6x6,
piece of cedar I brought in.
yeah, and actually turned it. Well,
Cool.
tried to turn it.
Well, I'll talk to Rita about maybe she'll let us take a spin at that. So,
Yeah.
Rita Grant.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
thank you.
Actually, I contacted her and tried to get her to let us have our first meeting, September meeting there, so we can do it, so we can show that lathe. So maybe we can talk her into doing that for another meeting.
Great.
Okay,
Thanks.
we'll look into that. Okay, wood auction process. At the executive meetings, I kind of brought up that sometimes we get a lot of wood and sometimes we don't get any wood at all. And sometimes it takes us long into our meetings and sometimes it's disappointing that none of it showed up. So we kind of want to do a process. I think the easiest thing to do is if you have something you want to bring in, just a week or so before the meeting, just send me an email, tell me what you got, and I'll collect it. Me and who else did I say I was going to put on that? Oh, Mike Messina. Yeah, thanks, Mike, for stepping up. But
There you go.
so what we'll do is we'll say, okay, if there's going to be too much, we'll ask somebody maybe to put it off to the next month. So just so we even out that flow a little bit, okay? Because I know we went into Steve's demo pretty bad at one time, so I still apologize for that one. So I think that will work out. Also, we're working on getting, we were talking about having t-shirts, and then that worked into getting a new club logo. And then we had this executive meeting, all this exchange, and Jim stepped up and did a lot of work. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've discovered, where you want to take us?
You're welcome. So it seemed easy enough to come up with a logo, but when you think about putting it on a website and also putting it on a t-shirt, something that is clean and visible and doesn't have a lot of detail, and you start drawing pictures of bowls with grain, and then, you know, we're talking about whether it's a deciduous tree or a conifer.
And not everybody's a bowl turner, so
Yeah.
what else you put.
Does that stick look like a chisel? And anyway, it was interesting. I think we ended up, between a couple of us, with 20 different designs that have been batted around. And I think we're down to three
or four,
maybe.
yeah.
And so I started to put them on t-shirts. There's sites, you know, that where you get a t-shirt printed, you could upload your image and see it. And I said, we need to see it on a shirt. And so I did that, and then came back and said, hey, can you add this other one? And it seemed simple enough, except the design I had the words like cut out of the mountain, so the t-shirt color would come through in the shape of the letters, right? Sounds easy enough. Not easy enough on a graphic program to figure out how to make the letters on top of another image transparent and effectively make a hole through the previous image. I've talked to a graphic artist about it, spent an hour and a half last night messing with it. Anyway, we'll have pictures of it on t-shirts soon.
I'll,
It's a process.
I'll draw you half of it. You know. That's how I made it. I made half and then I just flipped it. So I can make that and just separate it. Just put it in.
It's the transparency that is the key to get the color.
Well, it'll be
through.
two different images. It'll be for the lumber, one on top, one on the bottom. The logo or the we'll talk later. Okay.
Yours is fine.
I
got
know
yours.
I'm not a member, but I taught graphic design, and if you had a .png image, it would be clear. So anything, so I don't know why you're not getting the color. You should be able to use that image and get any color of T-shirt that come through there.
Yes, and so for most of the designs that works fine. It's only when you add
I'm
letters.
not criticizing.
No,
I'm
no.
just trying to help.
But yeah, I'm using PNGs.
Okay.
And when you add lettering to a graphic, typically you make the letters a color.
Right.
I want to make the letters clear. If I make them clear and put it on top of an image, it just gets the image color. I need it to bore that hole through the image in the shape of the letters. And you do it apparently with something called a mask. And the program I have that has that, no matter what I did, it wouldn't put the hole where I put it.
It'll be illustrated.
Illustrated.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I'll get there.
Okay.
But
Anyway, thank you for stepping up and running with that. And hopefully, if we do have T-shirts, we're talking about T-shirts or smocks. Would anybody be interested in that? What's your thoughts? T-shirts? Anybody interested in T-shirts?
T-shirt.
Smocks? Okay, so maybe we'll offer one or the other. So no pressure, but everybody wants one.
And I think the smocks would be particularly useful for demonstrations like you were just talking about a moment ago.
Yeah, this is true. That's exactly why. Because the one I have is pretty well stained and has blood on it.
That doesn't look good.
No, we don't want to demonstrate with blood on it.
You two guys should connect a little bit, because my wife is a graphic designer too, but not nearly as skilled as apparently you are. And she just simply said at the first round of things that we sent, she liked the simplicity and said they don't need my help. Well, then, of course, everybody got into all this fancy shit.
Simple was better. No. But he's doing a really good job. Okay, so is there anybody on the executive committee that has any reports or anything to say? Education, Paul, I think you already talked. Mentoring program, and multimedia. Travis, you got anything? You need anything to buy?
Oh, there's always things I need to buy.
Okay. All right, well, just buy them and send me the bill. Or send Larry the bill.
That raises an interesting question that the executive committee should take up. I've been one of the real strong protagonists of the Zoom meetings and, providing opportunities for people to connect. But upon reflection, and this is a rhetorical issue, I'm not asking for this. Upon reflection, I think we should continue doing that. But we also need to, I think one of the things that helped this club grow rapidly at one point in time was the opportunity for camaraderie and trying to enable those kinds of opportunities. I think it's going to be very useful to our future. And we can discuss that in the executive committee, but I'm asking that if any of you have any ideas along that regard, if you could let Ken know so that we could raise it in an executive committee meeting and find ways to address that particular issue. And this is a nice crowd. And we've had as many as 30 people, I think.
Yeah.
And the point is, people just walk and rub shoulders. And that's, I think, a big part of what this is doing.
No, I agree with you, Reg, so, good point. So, let me write stuff down here. Okay. All right, so, any follow-up on that? Okay, what about the program? Mike, you wanna tell us about what you've got planned?
I didn't bring the list with me tonight, but
You know his.
is it on there?
Yeah.
Okay, so October's meeting is gonna be bowl finishes by Paul. November is gonna be sharpening with Larry Lukens. December is Ken Vasco doing Christmas ornaments.
Unless somebody else wants to step forward, because I did that same, probably similar one that I did last year, so if anybody has something they wanna step up, I would gladly step aside and let them do it, so. Let me know, you got till December to prepare, so. It's not hard, it's good experience too.
I looked up all the clubs in Pennsylvania, and there's like 9 or 10. And I've sent emails to some of them as to if they have a demonstrator that would be interested in demonstrating for our club. I'm trying to get people from Pennsylvania. And I got one down in Jacobus, down near York, Pennsylvania. They have 2 demonstrators, and he's gonna talk to them about getting back to us and seeing if we can do something like that. So maybe if we can't do it for January, maybe we can do it for February, whatever, but we'll get it worked out. I'm off the hook till January.
What's it called?
Jacobus. Never heard of Jacobus, Pennsylvania? It's right by York.
I believe. Here you are. So.
Mike, I got an inquiry today from Dale Gerke. He's come infrequently, but he brought a whole load of walnut on one of the last meetings when he was here. But he inquired today, said he has a really nifty chainsaw sharpening jig. And he asked whether I thought the club would be interested in a short demo of that. And I thought probably half the group uses chainsaws in this group, so it might be helpful. I guess that would be a short one, so you might mix that with other people
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
all right.
Anyway, if you think that's appropriate, if the group
Yeah.
does, then I can
That'd be
get in
cool.
touch with them.
Yeah, send me his information.
All right.
I've got it. He's the one that brought me that walnut. That's the walnut.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
So I have his email address, I'll get it to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Couldn't make it tonight because he's going to England, poor guy.
Yeah. Dan isn't here. Is there anybody online right now? Travis?
I think they're online, just not, don't have their cameras on.
Okay. Okay, they're in the phone right
Okay.
here. Dan isn't there, is he? Okay, so there's no venue. Women in Turning, Jan had a emergency in New England somewhere, so.
She's in Boston.
Yeah, so she couldn't make it. So normally we do show and tell. Oh wait, we have another new member. You tell us a little bit about yourself, how you learned about the club, and your experience maybe with wood turning.
Well, my experiences with turning is so far I made an acrylic pen.
Very good.
Yes, I just saw the classes listed.
Tell us your name.
Oh, my name is Jennifer. Sorry. I live in Altoona actually, but I'm a Penn State alumni and I'm over here in State College quite a bit doing things at the university. And let's see, in July I think it was, or June, I did the class with the acrylic and had fun with that. So I just thought I'd come by and see what else I can do.
Colton was the other one. Yeah. So yeah, and came out really nice, by the way. So I like that one. So anyway, welcome to all the new members or potential new members. Normally we do our wood auction or our show and tell now, but I want to do the wood auction And Mike, you were so good at it the last couple of times. You wanna do the wood auction for us?
I don't know what I'm auctioning, but.
Okay, there's two pieces of chestnut out of my backyard, and they're, according to, we had the Chestnut Society over to look at it before it died. And, yeah, and they said that they were probably a Japanese and American chestnut mix. He thought it was an early hybrid, and obviously it died, and so it wasn't a successful mix. But it's really pretty wood. Yeah, it's pretty big for a chestnut.
Yeah, that's a big chestnut, because usually you see them about
I
that.
have, Steve was over there. I have a couple pieces about this big around, so it's a nice size.
Do you want to auction them individually or as a fair?
The one at a time. Okay, and then the rest of it is all walnut, and that was Dale Jericho.
Dale Garrity.
Dale Jericho.
Yeah.
He gave the other 3 pieces of walnut, and Steve came over and helped me cut it up. And they're all anchor sealed, but they're all this year's trees.
Yeah, they feel wet.
Yeah, but that's.
Yeah, they're this year's trees.
That'll make your blade walk across the floor. So, what do you want to start them at, you think?
Start at that.
$10?
Yes.
That's what I was going to suggest. So, anybody interested in a very heavy piece of chestnut, green but sealed,
Sealed. Anchor sealed.
yeah, for $10. Reg, $10. Anybody else?
Good deal.
Ah, back there for
Hey, well,
$12. Reg has his finger up for $15. Well, you can say 20.
I'll go 18.
18 bucks. Seems like we have a two-way. 20 bucks from Reg.
It's a pretty piece.
20 bucks. Anybody want to go above Reg? Okay, Reg.
Chestnut's a lot of fun to turn again. I've never turned it. It's soft like butter, but it's a nice hard.
I can turn on the range top here and start drying it.
Seals on that, you said something.
Anchor
seal. It's a wax. It's a wax.
That's right.
How's the flow?
It's personal.
I use a roller.
Don't give up, you can have them both.
Brushes on milky and then turns clear.
And usually you put it on the end grain, but you put it over here too?
No.
Just the end.
And
Yeah, just put the end grain.
So this one's a little smaller, but we can still start at $10 since that one went for 20.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's cracked. It looks like it's in pretty good shape. Nice and heavy again. Yeah, I don't see any real cracks. So that would make a wide, shallow bowl.
Somebody did a really good job of cutting that out.
Yeah. $10. $10. And Reg too?
15.
15 to Reg. From Reg.
I'll go 18.
18 again.
20.
20 from Reg.
You can't let Rich have fun.
Rich is on fire.
He's going.
I'm just telling you, I've got a special project in mind.
He's a chestnut guy.
So keep going.
He's chestnophilic.
Run him up. Run him up.
$20 from Reg. Anybody want to beat $20? Going once, going twice. Was that a hand? 22.
30.
30. Reg wants a chestnut. Anybody above 30? Going once, going twice. 30 to Reg. Wow. Here is a ginormous piece of quite heavy walnut, and here again, it looks like it was sealed well and all that. I don't see any real big cracks. That's not really counting. Too big for my lathe. $10? Walnut makes a nice bowl.
Walnut makes nice everything. No.
$10 from anybody. Yes, $10.
Yeah.
Any Anybody? 12 bucks, 15 bucks, 10 bucks is the going bid. 10 bucks? Going once? Going twice?
It's a donation, I'll go 20.
20 bucks. All right. He outbid himself. Anybody else? Okay, 20 bucks. These are.
What's your name? Kyle, K-Y-L-E. Kyle Peck. P-E-C-K.
These are identical looking pieces with some little cracks in the end, but of course your bowl will come out of here anyway. And you can even include some of the sapwood and make a nice kind of a transition. So, 10 bucks for a smaller piece of walnut. This one feels a little drier. 10 bucks. Walnut. Beautiful bowl. 10 bucks. $9.50.
Guys, sell it for $5. Everybody take it for $5.
$5?
Remember, this all goes to the club.
I'll take it. Take it for 5.
We'll take it for $5. Anybody beat 5? Okay, 5 to Kyle, you said? And here's its matching sister or brother, I'm not sure. Again, sealed well. I don't see any bad cracks or anything in this at all. So, 10 bucks. A little bit of crack here in the sapwood, but 10 bucks. A donation of 8 bucks. 7 bucks. Supposed to be going the other way.
It's a Dutch arm.
$7 for a beautiful piece of walnut.
Yeah,
Reg to 7 bucks. Anybody want this more than Reg wants it?
I'll do 10.
10 bucks from
John.
John. Yes, John. I forgot your name. 10 bucks. Anybody over 10? Nice piece of walnut. Again, a kind of a shallow bowl. 10 bucks. Going once. Going twice. John. 10 bucks.
Okay,
I didn't memorize all that, so I hope you know.
We got
Okay.
Are you gonna,
$90.
you want to collect the money?
I can get it.
Okay, so give your money over here to Mike Levo, and we'll get it to our treasurer as soon as it comes back from Paris or wherever he went. Wherever he went. Yeah.
Took off with the money.
Yeah, he took off with the money. So the next part of this meeting is just going to be, this is where the demonstration would come in. But instead of that, we talked about it. We just like having people talk about what they're doing, showing some of the pieces they've done over the summer. And so we're just going to do show and tell for the rest of the time. What time is it now? It's
7:45.
7:45. If we get done early, fine. If not, that's good too. But what I'd like to do is let's start at the far end of the table. So your stuff's at the far end of the table. Maybe getting at the far end.
That's
You get the far end of the table.
It's ready.
Yeah, legit.
If you have time and anybody knows how to put the teeth back in this chuck, I'm happy to let you play with it. Guys here.
You told me.
I just can't, tooth came out and I can't figure out how to get it back in.
I've done it once, but I don't like that.
It's not, there's no name on it, I don't think it's no.
So I turned volume, I guess, not, I've probably turned 40 or so bowls this summer. This is apple.
you're lucky that didn't crack.
Yeah.
Pardon?
You're lucky that didn't crack.
I haven't had any trouble with that,
Oh, man.
in the apple.
How do you once you take an apple tree down? How do you treat the wood or whatever?
This tree was dead for a couple of years. It was out of Pete's, Pete Kleinfelder's.
Yeah.
And I cut it and brought it home and
So it dried naturally.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
dry on the lid. This is a piece of hickory, and I really have trouble with hickory cracking, so I use a lot of epoxy filling that. This was a piece of walnut. This was a piece of poplar. Yeah, it turned out pretty good.
So what kind of tools do you use?
What kind of finishes?
Just cutting board oil. That's all I put on any of them. This is apple. Kind of had a neat little mark in it. And again, walnuts, hickory. I thought that was a neat little piece there. That's my favorite is cedar. My, I love to turn cedar. And beautiful. And I don't put anything on it.
Where did you get that?
My neighbor has a cedar tree down there that's like 10 feet long and so big around. And I do the grocery shopping for him. He's 90 and she's 86 or whatever. And I keep saying, I'll buy it, you know. Can't, he won't give it up yet. But I keep working on him. He did give me a couple billets, you know. But oh, that thing is beautiful.
We thought you went down there in the middle of the night.
No. This, I'm trying to think of the type of wood this is. I went to that sawmill sale. What a letdown. I got over there, he was supposed to have poplar in purple and blue. Tulip poplar in purple and blue. He didn't have it. And then he was to have the, what's red?
Box Elder.
I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, box elder, thank you. Yeah, box elder. This, he didn't have any of it, you know? If you wanted live edge stuff, he had a tremendous amount of live edge stuff. But when it came to the stuff that he showed on the internet, the beautiful pictures, it wasn't there.
Is this guy down like Melroy or Reidsville or something?
He was retired.
Juniata School. He was in back of the Juniata School on the mountain there. The weeds were as high as the lumber house. He didn't saw every day. This stuff had been there for a long time. I called ahead. I wanted 100 board feet of cedar boards, and I was lucky to get 28. You know, he said he had it, but when I got there,
Find it.
it just wasn't there.
What is that one? Is that what wood was that one?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling
Oh,
you. Can't think of what it is. I bought it over there. It was just a little billet.
is it ash?
No, beech nut.
Beech?
Beech nut. Yeah, this is beech nut. Real soft. Real soft.
Looks like you got a nice thin one on that one.
This was a piece of hickory. I like the looks of that. This is a piece of cherry.
How'd those easy wood tools go through that hickory?
Excellent. 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 Yep, I just turned this on my new one-way lathe.
All right.
Yeah. I found one used.
How many of those easy tools did you break doing this?
None.
That was Mike asked that question.
None.
How many did you resharpen?
Here's some more hickory. This is walnut. This is cherry. And this is some more hickory. Cherry. This was a cherry bowl.
So can I ask a silly question? What are you gonna do with all these bolts? You gonna sell
I know.
them? Keep going, keep going.
Unbelievable.
Keep turning, that's all.
Now this one, this will be a keeper. What do you see in that?
It's
It's got a face in it.
Yeah. It even has ears.
Looks like the devil.
Yeah.
What is it?
Oh, this is caustic. This thing split so bad. I was gonna throw it away, and then I thought, oh, what the heck? I'll try it.
What's the wood?
Oh, this is hickory.
Hickory.
Yep. Yep. But it was sitting on my table, so one day I was sitting there in my rocking chair, drinking a iced tea, and I looked over and the thing's looking at me.
You fill the cracks of epoxy.
Epoxy. Yeah. Yeah, this is really cracked.
That's
Do you guys know about the Makers Market? The Makers Market here in either November or December that they're having?
Yep, November.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is a piece of sassafras. And this is another cherry or hickory, I'm sorry. And these are just more
Trees are nervous.
hickory. all kinds of hickory. And I love turning hickory. It's really pretty, different, you know. And some of it has holes. This was another piece of cherry. This is only like a third of what I turned for the summer. Paul's been over, he saw it.
Now that you got your new lathe, you can really go to town.
Yeah, but I've got to get geared up for it. It's so different than what I had.
Yeah.
It's meant for big stuff. So,
You might go.
Who's up next? Who's next one in?
Richard.
I think
So I'm new at this. And I took the pen class and enjoyed it. And so, like I said earlier, my kids and my wife want me a lathe. And so I started turning. Mike helped me, showed me how to make my first box. I think this is my second or third. So
What kind of lathe did you?
I got the, I knew you were going to ask me that. I should have looked before I left.
It's a
Still no.
Penn State Turncraft.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a nice lathe for starting. I mean, I've used a metal lathe before, as I mentioned earlier. That I'm a jewelry designer and I make jewelry. So I'm hoping down the road to combine my jewelry skills with insetting things or combining the jewelry. I won't name the woods because I don't remember most of them. This one's a burl. This is a shaving brush. So I'm loving it. I'm just kind of playing around a little bit. And here's another one. My brother-in-law used to make pool cues, so he gave me some sections, small sections of wood. So I'm not sure what they are, but they're pretty. And so I made some bottle stoppers, a couple of shaving brushes, and a couple more. These I haven't decided whether they'll be a brush or a bottle stopper.
So does the brush just screw in like the
Yeah,
bottle stopper does?
I mentioned this, but these are,
They have inserts?
they have, this is that Ruth Niles
Yes.
insert.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I made the mistake of thinking that the brush would fit in the same thing, and they don't,
Oh.
which is kind of silly by a few thousandths of an inch. So these are drilled and tapped in the wood, so I'll most likely glue them or epoxy them because I don't trust the threads of the wood. But you know, the metal insert I think is fine. And the nice thing about this is somebody, maybe you mentioned earlier, I mean, you make several handles and someone could switch them up and, you know, have molds.
It's
Anyway,
also nice, people can throw those in the dishwasher.
that's true too, you can separate it too, right. So that's my experience, I love doing it. I'm not digging holes for my wife's garden, I run in my studio and do that,
You made the thin pen, didn't you?
I did.
Ah, I remember that pen. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
nice.
And I did make a few more
Oh, good.
after that, and that's pretty much what I've done.
Good to see students.
Thank you.
Yeah. Paul's gloating over here about how well his students are doing. So who's up next? Is that you coming?
Steve, somebody?
All right.
85. That revised maybe.
So I brought in a few more pieces from these solid blocks that I've been making. And if I had to pick a favorite out, it would probably be this here. This was supposed to be a much larger piece. And when I ran, well, I did run a larger one, there were a lot of problems with the joints. They just weren't tight enough. That one finished out the way it did. These I mounted, and they were supposed to be pretty large pieces. Well, it just wasn't there, so I just kept spinning and spinning. Finally, just got frustrated, took it off the lathe and set it on the workbench. About 2 months, I've walked by it every day and keep looking at it, thinking there's got to be something left in there. So I put it back on, and I just started peeling away what wasn't tight enough. And then this pattern started to develop, and it tightened up, and I couldn't have designed that. It's just
Nice.
really nice.
So what kind of woods and how many different kind of wood are there?
There's walnut, maple, cherry, and that's it. Those are really the three primary woods I work with. On occasion, there's some ash in there or some butternut.
That's the Pennsylvania trifecta.
On this first one I did, I had more of a rounded finial. Well, to begin with, first I just had the vessel. And I thought, why not put a lid on it and turn it into a box? So I made the lid, and I thought, well, it ought to have a finial. Made that finial, finished it out, sat and looked at it, and I thought, what I should have done was shape the finial, mimicked it over after one of the designs that were in the pattern that developed. So that's where this one came in, and that just really mimics that part. This year I was experimenting with some different finishes, and I keep switching up. But on this one I used sanding sealer first, and it really milked the wood up. I'm looking for a lot more bold difference between the colors.
You say milk?
Yeah, it just turned it white.
Easy.
The
Was the wood wet?
no, perfectly dry.
Huh.
It's a water-based. Yes, it
Maybe
is.
do
It's a
this.
water-based sealer, but it definitely turned it white. I had some other pieces which were made from the same block, which were done with Minwax clear, and they turned out with a lot more contrast.
Is that your tall vase there? Yeah, like that one. Tell us about that one.
Once again, I tried to play the finial into the shape of the vase itself.
That's really striking.
Put another lid on it. This was actually a pretty simple block to build.
That's a nice piece.
This taller one here, I turned something similar earlier. It had a lot more curve to it. I wanted to tone that down some. And once again, I tried to play the shape of the finial into the main body of the piece.
Are those hollow inside?
Yes, that's hollow with the Forstner bit.
Good.
There are three pieces here which are almost identical to pieces I brought in earlier. But what I did with these was I put a ring on the top, which hides the way that the block is constructed. It adds a little bit more mystery to it. When you look at it, it's, well, how did that happen? So I thought it was a step in the right direction. This here, I had made this block before, and that was one of the most complicated blocks I ever made. And for all the work that went into it, I was really disappointed with what I got out of it. So when I had the second half of the block, I ran it, and I thought, well, we'll just change the form. And when I came in and ran the cove on it, that really dressed it up. And then once again, what I did was took one of the shapes or the forms from the base itself, and then played that into the finial.
Nice.
Now, all of this is using the techniques that you presented to us before.
Yes. I start by drawing a geometric pattern and then fitting that into a circumference. And then you have to figure out how to make the block. Generally, it's done in 3 different segments. What I keep coming back to is that the one pattern can be turned in so many different ways, and the way it's ultimately displayed can be really, really different. And I'm just fascinated by that. This was another very simple block to construct here. And here I ran switched up the grain of the wood, where this would have been lengthwise. The little rings are just end grain. Ran 4 of those into it and incorporated the 4th one into the cove, and tried to look at this using the rule of thirds. Whether or not I really got there, I'm not quite sure. But the block itself is really quite simple to construct.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come back and show us that again. Seriously, because
I've gotten better at it, and I think I could give a better presentation this time around. I've learned a lot more. What are you doing in January?
I've got January worked out, but March or April is good.
yeah, I mean, those are really beautiful forms and colors. But, you know, given your explanation tonight, even remembering what little I do from your last demonstration, I wouldn't have a clue as where to start.
Thank you. And here's just a cute little piece. It's walnut, a little bit of maple on top, and just a fancy little finial. A lot of time, but it's rewarding.
Yeah.
Who's up next there?
You
No, David. Sorry.
Let's see, this is the most recent piece. It's just a cherry bowl. It was done in 2 stages, turned green and then dried for about 2 months. Initially, I was imagining that I would do some burning or put some pattern on the side, but in the end, I just decided it was pretty enough as it was. Might be just a little heavy. It has kind of a everyday salad bowl kind of feel to it to me. But you might make it a little lighter next time around. This is I've done 4 vases that are this shape, so that they fit a glass insert. The first one I did was a spalted maple, and I started with just a small hole and actually did all the carving on the inside with the Easy Wood tool, and then another, what's the one-way tool that Wood Miser termite tool. That's the tool I have as well. That's pretty time-consuming and hard. So then I went and got a Forstner bit. I bought a good one. I thought, but after doing just one of them, it got so slow. It was painfully slow. The 3rd time around, I managed to sharpen that bit myself, and that did improve it. But I'm still looking for a better Forstner bit, I think, for the future. I do turn them after drilling it. I do turn them a little bit just to give it a hollower, lighter feel at the top. This one is inlaid with mother of pearl dots that I get from Stu Mack. It's a guitar luthier supply, and they sell these. It's not too expensive. I use that a bunch in my work. It's just an easy way to add a decoration. You know, it's just drilled holes. You get a bit that fits exactly, and they polish up in beautiful contrast against walnut. This is cascading sizes, and then a slightly different pattern for each one, as if it was dripping down the sides, kind of.
You use Forstner bit for that too?
One of them was a Forstner bit. The others are multi-spur kind of drill bit, so it cuts a cleaner hole. That is a challenge, actually, to get a nice clean hole to start in the piece.
Do you use an indexing thing to?
Yeah,
keep
right.
Keep
To make the marks, to get it to be in the right place. Usually when it's still on the lathe, I'll draw the lines at whatever divisions I want.
So, do you drill the hole, put in the mother of pearl, do a final?
You could, I think I just used abrasives to do that, just even by hand. I got it flush enough that it wasn't too challenging to take it down flush by hand. It wasn't on the lathe at that point.
And you finish them, and you put on it. Did you put any finish on the mother of pearl, or?
It is, this one was ebonized as well. The walnut was, even before I drilled the holes.
Okay.
And then my finish lately has been a sort of it's beeswax and linseed oil, sort of edible finish for all the stuff I do.
Yep.
But then after a recent demo of the Beal polishing system, I did spring for that, and I'm finding that's really improved the finishes that I'm getting on board. This is pretty much the same thing, drilled out and then hollowed a little bit further. This is a piece of maple, curly maple. I had a request to make this out of curly maple and was looking for it, and Tony generously had a piece in stock that he gave to me. So thanks to Tony for this piece of wood. And the last one is kind of an experiment. I've seen a lot of segmented work. I'm sure you have as well. I mean, some of them are just insane, 5,000 pieces, and these are really elaborate. Kind of like some of this, really elaborate. I don't know that I will go to that extreme, because you wind up spending more time gluing up than you do turning when you do a lot of that kind of work. And this was inspired by a friend who's done bowls like this. And so it's a little bit different. Normally, if you look at the top grain, you have long grain, and you're taking a piece of wood and you're cutting your angles so that the edges here, these are end grain glue all the way around. The middle of this one is actually done like staves. So I've ripped a long piece on the table saw at the angle I want for 16 segments. So the debate is, and when I first saw this from my friend, is okay, now we have end grain here and here that's being glued. And all woodworkers have learned that you shouldn't glue end grain, right? It's not gonna, but I've heard that debunked recently. Someone did these tests. If you go on YouTube and Google that or search for it, there's somebody who's done all these tests and it's saying, that's not actually true. You know, glue is pretty superior these days or something, so that they hold true. I did what they call sizing first, where you dilute the glue a little bit and rub that into the end grain before you do your final adding glue to clamp it together. So the piece that my friend made was from a plain sawn board. And I think a couple of these are like that. And what's really cool is when you have a plain saw board and you turn like this, you'll get an oval pattern on each one of these segments, which really looks cool. I didn't have any 8-quarter walnut that was plain sawn. It was all quarter sawn right from the center of the tree. So most of my patterns are just these straight lines.
Yeah.
So if I did it again, I think I would make a point of using the plain sawn wood for that.
That's great. I think that looks great just like that.
Segmented work, you know, part of it's attractive because you're using all the little scraps in your shop. It's a way to do that and make good use of it. When you're turning this way, you don't have end grain for the rough. It's a different surface when you're doing segmented work. I find that appealing. The bottom of a segmented bowl is a challenge. So the grain on this one, on the very bottom, it's not going to change any this direction because that's the long grain of the board. But this probably will change direction, won't it, as it swells or with the seasonal. So is there going to be enough flex in all of this? Some demos say if you make your bottom thin enough that you'll be all right. You know, if it's not a heavy bottom, it's going to, so we'll see. That's whether this stays together or not.
Cool.
I made a segment of bull once, and oh gosh, spent weeks cutting and assembling and making sure everything was right. And I had a friend who was an artist of another sort, and came down to my shop and picked it up. Hadn't been glued.
Okay. So it's got the walnut balls up there.
Is that me?
Yep, I think that's right.
Well, I brought these 3 bowls not because they're outstanding works of art or anything, but I learned some things doing these. I thought I'd share. Okay. This is not walnut. It's sometimes called bird cherry, sweet cherry, mazard cherry. It's an introduced species. It's not really taken over the world or anything. It's not really what you'd call noxious, but it's a beautiful wood. But when I turned this and completely finished it, with the finish, I let it sit for a little while, and I just kept feeling it. It just felt just too heavy. Just the walls were too thick and such. And if you'll notice, it seems like I'm one of the oddball bowl turners in that I use a recess. So after this was sitting for a while, even with the finish, I thought, I just don't like it. So I went back down to the shop and remounted it and returned it. So I'm making kind of a pitch. If you're a new bowl turner and you don't want to flip the bowl twice to take off the tenon, you might think of a recess here. So that's all I'm showing with this, is that even a year later, if you don't like the feel of a bowl, remount it and return it.
Should have a dovetail.
Use the same recess then, you're saying? Like that was...
Oh, yeah. I left that on there, and so I just remounted it on an expanding jaw chuck. Right. I didn't have to turn anything here. I turned this to be slightly larger than my chuck when the jaws are closed. I put it in there and I open it up this way, okay? I try to make a little bit of a dovetail because there's a little bit of dovetail on the chuck. And wood, like concrete, is much, much stronger in compression than it is in tension. So you got to be careful. I say you only have to turn it once, as I have a faceplate and turn the ball. I turn the recess and I completely sand all this. Then I flip it once and hollow it out. I don't have to come back around and try to take a tenon off with a vacuum chuck or cold jaws or anything like that. But you got to be careful because that you can put that chuck in there and expand the jaws, but it just doesn't hold as tight as you can get it around the tenon. So you can send a bowl across the shop. You know, so I've heard. I've never seen it. I've heard that if you get a catch when you're hollowing it out, you can send this flying.
I've also split the bottom too by trying to put too much pressure on. So
yeah, when I'm shaping it, I try to leave enough wood here because one time I didn't leave enough, and I really cranked down on the dilly bars, whatever they call them.
dilly bars.
Yeah, and that was the end of that. This one, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I made an error on this. I'm sharing here, okay? I had tiny little cracks on here, and so I thought, I'll use a very thin CA glue and fill it in. And I did. And that glue is so thin, it soaked into the fibers and made a big smear. And I thought, no problem. When I put a finish on it, it'll get darker and I won't see it. No, it really stuck out. So again, because I had that recess, I just remounted it and turned it inside and out to try to thin it, get the walls thin enough to get beyond that stain. That thin CA glue, it just went right into the fibers. So if you look at this again, you'll see it there. And I don't care. I'm not selling them or anything. But just a word of caution, if you have a little crack and you say, I'll use some glue on there, CA glue, and I'll use the thin stuff, it will soak into the fibers.
There is a trick with using CA glue in that technique, and that is to put finish on it first before you seal the crack. And then the CA glue will not bleed out into the rest of the fibers. So something like shellac or almost anything, just over that sanding seal right over the crack, then put the CA glue in, and it generally will not show as badly as it would.
Good idea, because that was raw wood, and it just went
Yeah,
right into it. And then I don't like to waste anything, so I use epoxy, which doesn't seem to soak in like the CA group. And so I thought once I would get, shall we say, whimsical, and I dyed my epoxy. So that's what these red streaks are, and in some cases it came right through. There were a lot of cracks in this dried walnut, but I'm not going to throw it away, you know. So I dyed the epoxy, and that's what you see in the red here.
What did you use for dye?
It's a liquid. Comes in little bottles. You can get it powdered and all, but this
Like an aniline dye?
no, it starts with an M. Who? Transient? No, it starts with an M.
Mike's.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I knew somebody was going to ask. It comes in little bottles with about 24 colors and a little bit. I mean, I mixed up about a silver dollar's worth size of epoxy in one drop, and you stir it up with a little wooden stick, and man, it's really concentrated. So that's what this red is for. It doesn't do a whole lot for me. Maybe it's red on walnut. Maybe it'd look better if it was maple or ash or something like that. But I'm interested in your opinion about whether you think that's a good idea. Don't worry about hurting my feelings. I used to hold a flashlight for my father when I was a kid. You can't hurt my feelings. So let me know if you think that's a good idea. As I said, it comes in a whole bunch of different colors, that particular type. So nothing special about them, but I just thought I'd share some experiences. But again, I'm a big fan of that recess because you only have to flip the bowl once and not take off the tenon.
So that's you're using an epoxy, not a resin mix.
It's a two-part epoxy. It's got the
epoxy glue, but not the resin like you see people use.
What's the difference between a glue and a resin?
I don't know.
Like
One's called a resin and the other one's
Oh, you're talking about like Illuminite or something like that?
I mean, you're talking about a tube.
You just talking like 5-unit epoxy or something?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
2 little bottles. It's not the squeeze thing. It's 2 little bottles, and it's got one's called a resin and the other's called a hard fixture.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, a hard.
Yeah.
It's not the deep pore stuff.
And that's,
It's actual glue.
There's little dyes you're talking about. Michael's handles those.
Okay.
That's not the name of what you're using, but Michael's Craft Shop handles those. And actually, you can find resin there for a lot less than you're going to get through Woodcraft or Rockler. And it's the same damn stuff.
Well, the epoxy, the 2-part stuff I use would come from Lowe's, Ace.
Yeah. Okay.
Ace, Home Depot, any place like that. It's just 2 little bottles, and you put out. I think they call the one the resin, and the other the hardener, and mix it up, and away you go. That's all it is. It's glue.
Nice.
Okay.
So, I love to go to yard sales, and I found this on the yard sale table all by itself. Didn't have anything to do. She wanted $1 for it, so I took it. And I took it home. $1. $1. I didn't argue. I paid her the whole dollar. And I took it home and I put a little bit of an edge on it. And this is one of my favorite tools now. I don't know what it is, who it's made by. Doesn't have any name on the handle. It's just a really nice tool. I don't know. It looks like a spindle tool for sure, but it has a real thick base down here.
Give you $1.50 for it.
No. But for the little spindle stuff that I do, I can do everything. I use it for roughing the blank. I use it for, rough turning. I do a lot of this finish work, and it's really been a nice little tool. So I just brought it in and just to tell you guys and gals to go ahead and look at the yard sales and stuff, because there are all sorts of good stuff out there. And winter market's coming up, so started making stuff for that. And this is just a sample of some of the things that I have done. I have a lot more, by the way. So first one I got is you've seen I brought in the mushrooms before, but these are 2 of the ones that I really like the best. And kind of what they are is they're fogwood. You know what fogwood is? Found on the ground. Yeah, that's what it was. So I have no idea what it was. Go to camp, I walk around, I see a chunk, I cut it up, I bring it home, and I make it. So there's some beautiful stuff out there.
you use lacquer spray?
Yeah, I've been using lacquer spray on them because they're fast. When you have to make 25 or 30 or 40 of something, you want to be fast. So lacquer spray really works good for me.
Use a deft.
I use the deft and I get it days. I have all 6 of them reserved, by the way, when they come in.
Okay.
So here's my angels I make. This was the first thing I ever made, this in trees. And they're a lot of fun to make. They're real simple. You can pump them out really fast. Pretty much the same design. I think I did a demo on these one time. And the fun part is getting the top flat enough so that you can put the halo on. So I tried all different kinds of ways, and what I end up doing is I just take her to the bandsaw and I go zip, and I take off the top, and then if I have to, I get a little Dremel and just knock it down so it's as flat as it can be. But it's tough to get that flat. So I tried sanding it, but I'm just not that adept at making the sander. I tried different kinds of sanders, handheld, little belt sanders. The bandsaw I can work with the best. Same with this. I take that to the bandsaw and just kiss the back end of the blade up against her nose and just take her right through. So trees, I've really been into trees. This is one of the designs. This is the simplest design. Doesn't take much to make them. Again, I can pretty much make all of this with this tool. You can see it almost works perfect for that. So I can go in and just pop, 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 done. It takes no time at all. When you're making lots of these, fast is good. Then last year I thought of doing, take a breath here. I started doing these kinds of trees. I just did a couple for the show, the winter market, and they sold really, really well. And everybody was talking about them, and people were coming back and wanted more. So, but it takes three times to turn this right for me. Maybe my technique, I don't know what it is, but I have to rough turn the edges first. Then I drill the holes, and when I drill the holes, they splinter out a lot of times. So what I have to do is I leave enough material that I take most of that out again. Then I put in the pencils. These are all colored pencils in here. And I cut them off with a little handsaw. It takes no time at all. And then I turn them again. So it's three times this has been turned. So it comes at a premium. But they're very popular and they're kind of fun to do. And I had a walnut. Did a couple of walnut ones, and I said, well, the colored ones just don't seem to work well. Colored pencils didn't seem to work well with it. So I just went ahead and put the white pencil in it, and they came out really cool. So make a few more of those. And what else do we got? I'm still working on some other things. I'm doing snowmen yet, and I'm working on snowmen this week. So all the hottest days of the year, and I'm making Christmas stuff. So my wife was at Goodwill, and she found a Christmas mug for me. So she brought me some tea with a Christmas mug while I was down there working. So that was kind of nice. So anyway, that's what I've been doing on my summer vacation. So.
And he's been the biggest moneymaker at our little booth at the winter festival here. So you might take a lesson from that.
John, I think you're up.
Okay. Yep, come on back. Save the best for last.
Oh, I hope not. There's $10 somebody was collecting it for. I don't have much here. I kind of got away from tournament for a while. Jim Finley was doing some tutoring for me, and not that paying me to get away from stuff. But, God rest his soul. He gave me a lot of pointers, but then I forgot a lot. So I came back and met Paul earlier this year. Said he'd give me a hand to get acclimated again. So this is the first burrow that I've turned. It's we say it was dark cherry, I believe. It was interesting. I was a little scared, but thinking I was going to get a catch here with these cracks. But if you get the right RPM, it just skips right over it. And that didn't turn out too bad. And this one I just played with the other day. This is rosewood from Florida that a buddy brought up, and I've told a couple of people this was the junk piece of it, but it had a chainsaw rip about 2 inches deep and about 6 inches long in the log. So I went ahead and cut off an end piece and fit it in and glued it into where the chainsaw had been, and then I turned the bowl. The only thing I had left was this little notch right here. So it's just kind of fun to play with.
Cool. Where'd you get the black knot from?
This, I may have bought it here from the club or something. I bought a burrow from somebody. It was either this or
What is that, Peaches?
Peaches. That's what I was thinking. It's either that or Peaches. That's the only two places I've bought stuff from.
Okay.
But so this was a couple years old. I think dried out pretty good.
Pretty bold.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. Getting back into it.
Yeah.
So you guys know I turned boxes. I brought a couple boxes that I've turned over the summer. I too am getting ready for the winter market.
Winter market, yeah.
Top tier that I turned, just for fun, you know. Weed pots was a big seller last year. I could have had a dozen of them and I probably would have sold them all. I only had a couple. Somebody was talking about starting a green bowl. You can see this one, it's a little out of shape. I turned it green all the way down. Piece of cherry. This is another cherry bowl. And Ken and I and Reg, we belong to Lanks of Wood Turners. I got a guy on there about matching the grains. He has his special tool, a special way he measures and everything. I just threw this on the lathe. It came out really nice.
This is about perfect. Yep.
Yeah. So these are all little boxes that I do. Turning's fun.
You haven't done any demos in a while, have you?
I got one I'm working on.
I like the one there with the bark on it. That's cool.
This is a weed pot.
Yeah. By the way, my wife thinks that some of those boxes, like we bought from you, are just perfect for having next to the stove. You put your salt in it, and just she's that kind of cook.
A lot of people call it salt.
And hard desserts.
Mm.
And this is a pen that I took too.
We somehow or other passed by Tim's stuff there.
Well, I don't have any turnings to show you, but I do have a curio that might be of interest to some of you. I live on an 8-acre tract in Huntingdon County, and 44 years ago I met Jim Finley, the late great Jim Finley, I might add, and we were both extension workers, he in forestry and I in agricultural engineering. So over the years we interacted together. And back in the early 80s, Extension did what they called in-service trainings. And it basically was a way to have the employees in the Cooperative Extension Service learn about what the other people were doing. So they would do in-service trainings. And I went to one of Jim Finley's in-service trainings on small woodlot management. And I, having an 8-acre tract of land and I always being interested in wood, I always thought, well, this would be a great opportunity to learn about, growing trees and managing a small woodlot. So one day I went, I always liked the look of honey locust trees that tend to grow in wet areas, but they make a beautiful canopy. And so I thought, well, I'd go down to the Juniata River area and dig up a couple little ones, and I transplanted them onto my property. And I had this one beautiful one right near where our grandkids now play. And turns out that these honey locusts propagate by roots, kind of like the ailanthus. And they end up sending up trees all over the place. And if you do small woodlot management like I do, you're often on your knees, you're often on, reaching up, pruning limbs off, trying to manage things, cutting out invasives and so forth. So yesterday I took the chainsaw to an 18-inch diameter honey locust, and I wore my steel-toed boots. I wore my ballistic nylon Kevlar
Chainsaw.
safety chaps. I put on my welding leather jacket, and then I put on welding gloves, and of course the face shield and everything on the tree, on the face. And I took out this bad boy. Now I'm gonna put it over here, Mike. Move over. So, some of the thorns can be up to 16 inches long. And ironically, or interestingly, the other day I was walking by this tree, and it was the biggest tree in the area, and a squirrel was there. And the squirrels, you know how they tend to run away from you. This squirrel ran 4 feet up this tree and said, "The heck with this," and ran back down and went to a lower tree. So even the squirrels won't climb these stupid trees. So cutting it down, I still haven't removed it all because of the rains that came along and everything. But one spike went right through my welding glove, and it's now impaled inside my hand. It'll take a couple weeks probably to get out. But it is a beautiful, beautiful wood. If anybody here ever turned honey locust?
I think the one Angel was making honey locust.
Is it?
Yeah, you take a look at it.
So if anybody needs any honey locust, let me know. What I plan to do is burn off the thorns on the outside, but they are amazingly hard. I don't know whether any of you have ever tried to break one of those. They're murderous.
The wood is hard too.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my shtick. I thought I'd bring it in. I thought you folks might be interested in it if you have never seen honey locust.
There is a thornless honey locust.
Excuse me?
There is a thornless honey locust.
Oh, is that right?
Don't they, as they matured, is it?
Well, what I did
It's usually on younger trees, I thought.
No,
Don't they mature out of that?
No.
to try to get rid of this tree,
It stays.
and it's various daughter trees that come up. I actually cut a zillion curves in the stump, and then I put pure Roundup in it, cut and treat type. I'm hoping that works, so we'll see. But that's it.
Yeah, I got locust.
I'll take it. I'll take some.
So the honey. Oh yeah. That size.
Want to conclude?
So, does anybody have, we brought the lathe in.
Yeah.
We brought the lathe in. Does anybody have any questions about techniques or tools or anything?
I want to mention something to them. People have asked about green wood, particularly the guys that haven't turned it or getting ready to. You could have it. If you take your green wood and let it warp, my wife happens to love warped bowls, so I'll give her a bowl that's all warped. She says, "Can you make me another one like this?" I can't turn it like that. But you can, I mean, when they warp, sometimes it makes a really neat bowl, and it looks better than just a plain Jane round bowl, because it has that extra design in it that Mother Nature did for you. So,
Yeah.
just a thought, just some of them, just let them warp. As long as they don't crack, you're in pretty good shape. Just a thought.
Anybody have anything else they want to talk about? I mean, this is kind of a social thing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In the demos I saw, the tailstock had something that you screwed on, so when you separated it, that cone wouldn't just fall, like mine would just fall to the rail. Do you know what that tailstock piece is?
Well, do you mean like a live center that?
Yeah, one way
has-
makes one like that. A live center that holds.
Yeah, so you can, often you can, unscrew the tip.
Well, one way has threads
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, one way
has
and one robust is another.
Okay, that's the brand to look for then?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look at that, thank you.
Yeah. And they're only about $125.
Serious. Really? Good year.
Anything from one way is $100.
The one in one way stands for 100.
Well, this is a social part. I have an announcement.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I'm Kyle Peck, and my wife and I have a concert series, free concerts at our house in the summers. We've already done 9, but we've got 3 left. And if you go to moonstockconcerts.org, we're out on 10 acres, just about 7 miles from here, out off Julian Pike Road, the lower end. So it'll take you about 15 minutes to get there from here. Moonstockconcerts.org. We have one Friday. We have one Saturday. Friday is Anchor and Arrow. Saturday is Aaron Kondo and the Hoofties. And then we'll have Riff the following Saturday. But you might, it's free. Bring your fun friends. It's family friendly. I have some games over on one side. Kids run back and forth, and I put out some beer and some soft drinks and water. I mean, soft drinks, beer and juice boxes and water. And it's a good time. So if anybody wants to come, bring your fun friends. Concerts.org.
Very good. Anybody else have anything? So that's kind of the formal session. We have the room till 9 o'clock, so if anybody wants to hang around and talk about any of the stuff up here or talk about anything else, you're welcome to do it. So thank you, and next month it's gonna be Paul doing finishes. So thank you.
You're gonna see a lot of bowls that have been turned once wet. All 8 bowls will be turned once wet.
Write that in there.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Hey, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
More social stuff.
You want that?